Okay, so this is the tutorial for the strike second deal. First of all, I would like to talk about the deck selection. Okay, so I've got here several decks. I've got here two B decks. One is really old, I no longer use it. It's an old sticky deck. One is quite really new. And here is the bicycle deck, red cards that are quite used. Okay, so for every deal pretty much it's really good to use a B deck because it is the all-over back design which helps to hide the technique, hide the move itself. On the other hand, for learning purposes it is quite good to use bicycle deck because you can see the border and you can see where you have to put the thumb and extract the card. But it's not all about the pack design, it's also about the cards. I've got here the red bicycle cards. They are quite good for training. If I compare them to blue bicycle cards, if I take the blue cards off the box, they are bent like this. They are naturally bent, and this is not good because it's quite hard to do, at least for me, pretty much anything with them. So that's why I prefer the red ones. Also with brand new deck, I will talk about that later, the pushing off action is really hard to be done without those three fingers as a barrier. So you will have to use those three fingers as a barrier and then extract the card. On the other hand, just speaking generally, if the deck is new, the friction between the cards is really not so high. They are quite easy to be pushed off. So you can apply some pressure with your thumb, I will talk about that later as well, and you will still be able to do quite cool second deal or bottom deal or whatever. On the other hand, considering a sticky deck, if I try to do a second deal, I have quite problems with it. I feel it's not really my best and I sometimes also miss. It's quite hard to do because the cards are stuck together and it's more about not applying any pressure with the thumb at all. So, for this purpose I will use the bicycle deck here and let's have a look at the movement itself. The strike second deal has several parts and I will also divide it to those parts. It is the push off, which you push the card, then the extraction, where you take the card, and push back, where you push the card back. Then I will also talk about chaining those movements together to make them look good. And I will then mention some mistakes I did when I tried to learn this and you should avoid, and also how to make this deal really perfect, how to try to make it perfect. Okay, so before I get to anything, I should mention the grip. The grip is really important. I use so-called a mechanics grip. It's like this. 3 fingers on one side, 4 finger here. I guess you all know that. If not, just check some video. But do not bother because this is not the classic mechanics grip, I guess. Because what I do is that I move those 3 fingers a little bit down. I move them down so they are not up here. It's not a deep palm. So it's like this. It's quite hard to explain the proper way how the grip should be done because it really depends on you. Everyone is individual and you will make your own grip. as you will get better and better. But all I can tell you is just take the deck as if you would like to deal normally. That's the best way. So I take it like this. If I would like to deal normally, this is the way how I would deal normally. So then I try to do the second deal. I feel that I prefer pulling the deck a little bit up. The thumb should be like this. It should never be sticking out. It should be like this. But now let's talk about the grip a little bit more. Those three fingers are here as a barrier. It's not important, it really depends on what deck you have. If you have a brand new deck, it is important to have a barrier. But if you have some classic deck, you can move those fingers down. You do not need those three fingers as a barrier at all. You can just do it by friction and by stretch of your thumb. But this is pretty much it. The forefinger here is resting not really on the top, as I saw in some videos, but more like here. Does not really matter a lot. But if you would like to learn the sail, it's not in this video, but possibly in future I can make it. But the sail, if considering the second deal, I would sail like this. If the forefinger is here, it would be impossible to sail the card unless it goes here. And then it looks quite stupid. So it's better to learn to do that with forefinger that is not in way, and just do the strike second like this. So this is the grip. You should feel confident and quite comfortable. If you can't get to the classic, to the good grip, do not pretty much, it does not matter, because you can do it from your classic deal grip. So now let's have a look at the push-off. Okay, so the push-off is the first part of the strike second deal. It looks like this, and then back. So basically you are pushing the card back and forth. Now this looks quite easy, but it's actually a little bit more, well, complex. So how to do this? My thumb is resting here, and let's have a look what will happen if I apply a lot of pressure. This. You see that this card gets off. In past I did the strike second deal that I made it like so, and it was easier to get the card off. But that's not how the strike second deal should look like. So what you want to do is to not apply any pressure with your thumb on the deck at all. You want to just place the thumb on the deck. Generally your hand has to be relaxed, otherwise you have no chance to learn it and to do it perfectly. Even now, if I try to do it fast or I'm stressed, it's really hard for me to do it clean. So just place the thumb on the top and then make it move to push the card off by friction. You see that you will rarely move more cards than one, like this. Do it without those three fingers as a barrier, it will be like this. Just one card, nothing else. It has to be really relaxed. That's the secret of all deals. You have to relax. Now, so you push off and you push back. Some people prefer having those three fingers and the forefinger as well on the edge, so it will be like a barrier when the card gets back, so it gets to squared position. That's quite good, but as I explained, if you would like to sail, it will be a problem. So you can learn it like this, just practice it like so. Now let's have a look at the pivot. You see, the thing that happened here that I kind of lost my pivot. Some people claim that the edge should be right in the middle of hand and the muscle will be above the card, so you will have a pivot. I quite agree with it, but I do not force myself to do it in this way. I more just place the deck in my hand so it's comfortable, and then I go for deal. You see that at this point I'm doing the strike second deal, and the card does not have any pivot point at all, and it still could be done. The pivot point is not the important thing, but if you are a beginner, well, it might help. So if you do it like this, well, no problem, it can be done, the pivot point, but I do not use it a lot. Now let's have a look at several exercises that can help you to train this. Actually, if you have a look at my thumb, at my fingers here, they do not block the card a lot. So the exercise you can do is move the hand a little bit forward. I will explain those additional movements at the end of this video, so do not trouble yourself. So push the card and pretend to deal and push it back. So this is quite good exercise I did in past and it helped me. Looks a little bit maybe stupid, but it really helps. Now for the next thing, that's with the pushback. If you apply pressure when pushing the card back, you get the other card off and doesn't look good. So relaxed position, relaxed, just push off and deal. Extraction, if we have a card pushed off, looks like this. So first of all, I will not put the card back and it will be like this. This is what you will try to do. So how to do that? Basically the idea of the strike second deal is that you push off the card and here a brief is created. Please notice that the size of the brief should be as small as possible, but I will talk about that later on. But for now, just do it like this. The size of your thumb is fine. You have to have your thumb a little bit wet, not so dry, otherwise you won't be able to get the card off. At this point, you want to get the card off just by moving the thumb and using the friction. You see it moves like this. Now let's have a look at problems that can happen. So if you have problems getting the card off by the friction, for example like this, what's the problem? Generally, that's the pressure. If I apply pressure with my thumb on the deck, I have difficulties to get the one card off, because of the pressure. You have your hand and your thumb mainly relaxed for the entire time of the deal. At this point, the thumb here is relaxed. It's not pushing on the deck. But this muscle as well should not push downwards on the deck. That's also important. At this point, this card should be free to go. So you will have to just take it. Let's have a look at other problem that can happen. Let's imagine that the card is pushed off, but because you can't see those fingers, I will move it off. But imagine that the card is pushed off. I will place the thumb here. The card is pushed off. It's just invisible. At this point, if I try to extract the card, it gets in this position. At this point, if you apply pressure on the card will bend, and those three fingers, they have a friction with this card as well. So it will be hard for you to take it off, because those fingers. Do not apply any pressure at all and just take it off. Or push the fingers down. That's why I have the fingers down does not bother me. So now the extraction itself. As I said, you are using just the friction of your thumb, and you get to this position, and then you take the card with forefinger and thumb and place it down. I would like to mention one thing. It can sometimes happen, as I said, that you will get to this position by a lot of pressure or something like that. In this case, it's easy to take this corner and to deal the second deal actually. But this is wrong. You never want to get to this position. So you just take the card off and extract it. But now where to deal it? There are some ways how it could be dealt. I usually deal it in this way, but I saw people deal it also forward. But let's think about it. If I normally deal here, this is the classic deal, I deal like this. If I want to deal forward, I never pretty much do so because it's quite strange. At least I do not. And we want to make this second deal look exactly as a classic deal. So why should we do that? Plus, forefinger would be in a way, and also it would be visible. So always deal it like this to the side. No, this was bad. The next thing that can happen is that if you push off and you take the cards, it happened to me a few seconds ago, that you take two cards by an accident as one. This is because of the friction, and this is because of the thumb. If you apply pressure on the deck, you will more likely take the two cards off. But if you do not apply any pressure at all, it will be easy to be done. Let's have a look at it. Why is this happening? If I place the deck in my hand like this, and I place those fingers away and the thumb away, and I go for a deal, I will never pretty much deal two cards as one. Well, or if I run into problems. But it's like this. But this is exactly the position you are in. But you have one card pushed over. And you have to deal like this. I also saw in some videos that people give the deck a bevel. They kind of let it bevel in this way. This is exaggerated, of course. But the bevel helps, and it really does, to do the deal much cleaner. But the problem is that again, this is a little bit away from my classic grip. It looks strange, it does not look ordinary. I want to make my deal ordinary, so it's good to practice, at least for me, just with classic deck, no bevel at all. So for the extraction, what you can do is to push it off and just go and extract the card one by one. If you are a beginner, you will go with really even slower speed, but that's okay. I can maybe show you at the very end at what speed I'm pretty much learning some motions. It has to be done slowly. If you try to do it fast, you will never be able to do it. The speed comes with time. And let's have a look at pushing the card back and finishing the move. So far, you should be able to push the card off, take the card off, and now we will learn how to push the card back. This is quite easy though. Well, it looks like easy thing. If you extract the card, you want to push the card back. This is done just like this. As I said already, some people use the forefinger as a barrier to make sure it will be squared. I do not support it, but do whatever you want. I just say that if you make your hand relaxed and make as casual as possible, only then it will be perfect second deal. So if I do not use the forefinger as a barrier, an ideal, just try to learn to stop at a position where the card will be, well, so-called squared. Let's have a look at problems that you can run into. So if you have a look at the deck now, it will be like this. You see that the bottom card moved a little bit sideways. This is if you apply a lot of pressure. If you apply a lot of pressure, you will move the card back and it gets messy, the deck. Plus, you do not want to use your thumb. For example, here I'm contacting the bottom card, so that's also bad because I will push it out. Not at all. You want to contact just the top card and then push it back. So practice it several times, just like this. If you will be dealing, it does not really matter so much if you go like this or squared or not so squared, because it's a motion, so it will be hidden. I not every single time go perfectly squared, but that's it. Now the timing. The timing is really crucial. As I push the card off, and if I feel that I hold it with my fingers, I start pushing the card back. It's something I cannot explain, unfortunately. Something you have to find and try. I, however, can give you an advice how to learn it. Just do it slowly, as slow as possible. Just take the card off at this speed and start pushing the card back to realize in your head how it should be. Then you can speed up a little bit. And this is it. So far I covered the strike second deal, and now let's have a look at several other things, momentum and so on. So far I have covered deck selection, the way how the strike second deal should be executed, so the push off, then the extraction and pushing the card back, and then I added several tips. For those parts that will come now, you should just wait and quit the video, go and train this, because those things are just additional. The movement, the momentum, how to make this look perfect. And for this, you have to be able to do the strike second deal. So the requirement for this is just to be able to do the strike second deal at this speed. It does not really matter about the speed, but you should more feel confident in dealing the seconds and do it by heart. So whenever you will be asked to do the strike second deal, just do not position the deck in hand for like 2 minutes or think about what you will do, just you will deal and that's it. So for now I will explain any other things like momentum, the hand positioning, and how to make this as similar to the classic deal as possible. So enjoy! Okay, the momentum. The momentum is really good. I will just give you an example now. If I deal here normally, and then I want to do a strike second deal, I will do like this. Now you see that this looks really stupid, because I'm dealing at some speed, then I need some time for the second deal. I can't do it so fast. So I take some time and do the second. But this is exactly what's the problem. That's when it will be visible. I guess that people think, and also I thought, that it's the speed that is making it visible. If you do it slowly, then it will be visible. Well, it's surprising, but that's not true. It's all about the fluency and the motion. So if I now go for a normal D like this, and then do once strike second, which was not maybe really perfect, it was a big brief and so on, it will not be so visible as if I would do thing I showed. So now what you want to do is to get your current speed, which is just try to do here some deals. You will get your speed. Try to get used to it, and then just do normal deals at the same speed. You can also try to combine it. You will see that it's quite easy to be done if you achieve the speed and if you keep the speed. If I would deal here really fast and I would like to do a second, it will be really hard for me. But if you just do the motion, it will be okay. Now the hand positioning. Unfortunately, I am pretty much unable to show it here on the camera. I should then position the camera somehow else, but that's complicated. So the hand positioning. What you want to do, I'm sitting at the table now, prepared to do the strike second deal. The thing that is important is that your elbow should be on the table. It should be resting on the table. You see that my entire forearm is resting on the table. This is important. If you will have an elbow under the table, then your hand will be lifted as well as this one. And then you will have difficulties to execute the strike second deal. You more want to have really the hands resting on the table. And you do not need to place the hands on the table every single time. The point I'm trying to make is that your forearm and the deck should be parallel with the ground. Not at any angle, for example like this or like this, not at all, just parallel like this. Then you will have nice strike second deals. So this is it. Both your hands should be in that way. You can of course hold them in the air, does not matter. But this is the position. Okay, so the deck positioning. As I explained previously, the forearm and the deck should be aligned with floor. This is true. But this means that your wrist will be, and your hand will be in a position that the deck is aligned. You do not want the deck to be at any angle. You do not want to be like this. This is comfortable position, but this is bad for strike second deal. Basically, in my videos, which you can check on my channel, I did push-off second deal from this position. But this is something else, and it really depends on how you feel. But for beginners, and if you want to make perfect strike seconds, just make sure the deck is aligned with a flow. So now the wrist is like this. This is a little bit associated with the so-called deck tilt. I will show you how deck tilt looks. Looks like this. This is a little bit exaggerated, but unfortunately not a lot. Well, the point I'm trying to make here is that people usually tilt the deck like this and go for a deal. Now the pros and cons of this motion will be discussed in a minute. so now the deck tilt. Once again, if you haven't seen the previous part, deck tilt looks like this. Basically, you tilt the deck towards yourself and then execute the deal and tilt back to the original position. So let's have a look at the pros and cons, whether it should be done or not. In my personal opinion, this is not good and it should not be done. So first of all, how it looks like, or why is it done? Basically, when your spectator is in front of you, which is, well, 90% time, he is watching from this angle, and he might be able to see that you are taking the card from the second position and then this card is getting back. This is definitely possible. Now the reason why people came up with deck tilt was that as you tilt the deck towards yourself, he sees only this part and he does not see what you are doing here. Here in the video is a link to my video where I am using something like a deck tilt, where you can see what exactly is it, or just Google it up. So they do not see you to take the card, they have no idea what card did you take. So now let's have a look at the pros and cons. The pros. Obviously they do not see what card you take and it's relatively safe. But that's everything, there's nothing else like a pros I can mention. So the cons. The first thing, if you want to do the deck tilt, you have to come back to tilt the deck at like 45 degrees to the table or more, maybe even 90 degrees, but it's more like 45 degrees. So you come from this position, you tilt it, you execute the strike second and you tilt it back. The problem is that this is a lot motion and it's done every single time you execute the deal. So what you will do is that you will deal like this, like an idiot, you will tilt the deck back and forth. It is not impossible, it could be done, but the problem is that this motion is strange, it's not normal, and you want to make this deal look normal, and this is done just by the classic deal, not to tilt the deck. If I tilt the deck it looks really stupid, and if I then want to make my classic deal look like my strike second deal, I will have to, when I want to classic deal like this, which is really stupid. And plus, you cannot use the deck tilt in a bottom deal, so you cannot make all your false deals look same. Otherwise it would be possible. The next thing that is not good about the deck tilt is that if I tilt the deck like this and I go for push off, when someone is in front of me, he might be able to see the pivot. The pivot is right here and he might be able to spot it. You can never know, and as you extract the card here, he might see that the card you are taking is something else. So this is in a, well, case that they know that the ace is on top, you are doing some demonstration, and you go for a deal, and now they see that the card you are taking is 10 of diamonds. At this point you are exposed, and nothing can help you. So, in my personal opinion, it's better to be exposed in the classic way of dealing, so they will see that you are taking second card, but it's more unlikely than in the deck tilt. Lastly, I would like to share my opinion about the deck tilt. In my personal opinion, this is the move that people developed to make the action hidden. But the This is more like if you want to do it once or twice. But if you can do the strike second deal perfectly, as you can see some guys on YouTube, they do not really have to do anything like that at all. If you are perfect, you do not need a deck tilt. It's not important to learn it. Just practice the technique itself instead of learning some deck tilt. I mentioned that in my video you can see this technique, the deck tilt, but it was not really the technique itself. It was more like that the camera was at the level of my hand, so it did not capture the top of the deck, so it did not see. You can have a look at the video. I'm not really using massive deck tilt, it's not important, but it helps when the move is concealed. So this is it, and now let's have a look. Spoke about brief a little bit in the extraction. I expect that you now are able to do the strike second deal, so what you want to do is to make yourself better and better. So if you make a brief pick like this, it's quite easy to take the card off. But it is a lot of motion with the thumb, and it could be seen. Plus, it's not so professional. Basically, if I make brief like this, it's okay, I can take the card off. And this is quite good strike second deal. But let's have a look at another thing, and that's that everywhere is being said that the false deals are easy to be done with all over back design cards such as B cards. If I now execute here a strike second deal, it will be much better than with the classic deck. So the ace is on the top and I go for a deal like this. You see that I did not try to make it fast, I just tried to do it fluently and hopefully it was good. Basically you cannot see the border, so that's why the strike second deal it's easier to be done with those cards, it's more deceptive. But what I was thinking about was, why cannot it be done with this deck? It can be done. If you think about it, if I do the strike second deal, I do the push off, now I take the card. If you have a look in the mirror, it's not this border, this part of border, that is exposing that. It's this part, where you see that here, this part is moving, and this is the most visible portion. Where this part is moving, then it is visible. And also this border. Well, but we can get rid of it without any problems. The answer is that if you make a brief small enough so that the red part is not visible. Now on the camera this is not visible, I think, but what you want to do is to push the card off slowly until you see here this is exaggerated, the red part of next card. So what you want to do is to see just the white border of the next card. And from this point you want to do the takeoff. You want to take that card off with your thumb. This is extremely hard because it's really small brief. But that's the way how you can execute the strike second deal with bordered deck. If you cannot do that, just lick your finger and it will be easier to take that card off. Remember, in this case, do not apply any pressure on the thumb, just try to get the second card off like this. It's hard to be done, but it's not impossible. You see that this is pretty much it. I am not able to do this, I never practiced it really, but this would be my learning speed. This would be the speed at which I would learn this slowly speed. try to do this and get the card off. On the other hand, if you want to make the deal look same and classic, what you want to do is to do just classic brief, which is something like this. Not really big, this is a lot, but this brief is okay. Just do not force yourself to do smaller briefs, even if you can do that, because then the deal looks a little bit strange because the top card is not moving a lot. So you want to move the card like this and then execute a strike second, and this is just okay. I just want to try to do the small brief because then it looks perfect even with the bordered deck. So this is about a brief. This is next, well, maybe the last chapter or part, and that's the hand motion, and pretty much the motion during the deal. So if I go for a strike second deal, I can deal like this. You see that my left hand is barely moving, it's more like right hand is moving, and that's it. But it does not look good because the left hand is stationary. What I do when I do the strike second deal is this. So let's have a look at it and have a look at the motion. Bigger motion helps to hide smaller motion. So if I push off the card and I keep moving the hand like this, it helps to hide the push off. And moreover, it helps to hide the entire deal if I am moving my hands. So what I do is that I position my hands like this and I come together, my hands get together. In this case, at this moment the push off is done as the hands come together. So now I'm ready to take that card off. At this point I usually need some time. I guess that everyone will need some time to extract that card. And once I have it, I get my hands apart, moving this card back as I explained. But this hand goes back and in the wrist it's moving as well. It's like a big motion, and this is exaggerated, but what I'm trying to do is to get the hands like as far as possible. You see that the left hand can stop here or just here, but I end making really big travel with my left hand. This is important because then what you have to do is to travel long distance with your left hand to get back, which is important to hide the motion itself. Moving the hands a lot is the key. My right hand is also moving, it's not just waiting here to take the card, that would be stupid. But this is it. You want to move the hands a lot, like this. So this should be your deal, just motion, nothing else. And keep in mind that the hand has to be relaxed. So I guess that there is nothing else I would add, maybe in the sale or kicking off the card, but that would be completely different. Maybe add something to push off second deal or bottom deals, but that would be a completely different video. Well, tell me if you like it. If you like it, just share it or subscribe and give me some feedback. If you want to know something, in description there will be a Facebook page, my own private Facebook page, where you can ask me pretty much anything about deals or motions. As far as I will be able to do so, I will try to help you. So this is it.